Alright, so today I want to show you some white ball pythons that are really expensive, pretty unusual for an all-white snake. And if you actually hit the all-white snake with a certain combination of genes, essentially what it does is it masks all the other genes in the ball python. So sometimes you can have some really high-end genes, and a lot of people will list them as possible genes in that white snake because you don't know 100% sure that they're actually in the mix. And there's certain genes and certain combinations that you can breed together where you know 100% sure that those genes are in the snake. And all white ball pythons can range anywhere from just a few $100 all the way up to about $15,000 for an all white ball python. And let me tell you, you definitely want to keep track of all your identifications for your ball pythons. As a matter of fact, I actually have little magnetic stickers on my tubs in the back. And I thought, you know, probably the worst thing that could happen to me as a breeder is if someone came in and played a prank on me and took all the magnetic stickers off of all my tubs and I lost the identification and didn't know which one was which, especially if you had a whole rack full of white snakes, some of them really high end and some of them low end, and it'd be, let me tell you, it'd be a nightmare unless you really knew your snakes to actually identify which one was which. Probably a good idea to actually keep the identification on the magnetic strip and in a written logbook somewhere else too. So I'm going to jump over the internet and I want to show you some of these ball pythons that are white that could range pretty much from all the way from a few $100s all the way up to about $15,000. Pretty crazy. Alright, so I want to jump over here on Morphmarket.com and I want to start with pretty much the #1 all-white snake, and that is the blue-eyed leucistic. The blue-eyed leucistic is an all-white snake with blue eyes, and there's about 40 different ways you can actually make a blue-eyed leucistic, and all you need is 2 genes in the blue-eyed leucistic complex coming together in the same snake to make the all-white snake. And blue-eyed leucistics, it was kind of interesting. Last year, it seemed like the prices for just a regular blue-eyed leucistic was anywhere from about $300 to about $500, and for whatever reason it's really jumped this year. It seems like it's anywhere from about $400 to about $700 for a blue-eyed leucistic. As a matter of fact, if you actually take a look at the price on some of these, it's kind of interesting how all of a sudden just within the last year these have jumped up, and it seems like they're selling really good. I've seen some on here for $700. It's like selling right after they post, which is kind of crazy. As a matter of fact, I was actually selling snakes at reptile shows the last few years, and every now and then I would have a blue-eyed leucistic, and I go to the reptile show and I'd have a whole table, like an 8-foot table with 60 hatchlings in my display case, and I say about 90% of the people that would come up to my table, they'd always ask me, hey, can I actually hold the blue-eyed leucistic? The all-white snake with the blue eyes seemed to be the #1 most popular snake as far as just people coming by and looking at my display, which is kind of interesting. Even though a lot of people really couldn't afford to buy it, they all just wanted to hold it and take pictures, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of the starting point for the all-white snake. As a matter of fact, you can actually get some that are a little bit cheaper than this. You can actually get an ivory, which is significantly less than this. So here is the high end. As far as the high end, the most expensive all-white snake that I've actually seen over here at Morphmarket. And this one, it's actually an all-white snake with blue eyes. And take a look at the price on this one. This one actually sold last year for $15,000. Pretty crazy. And if you're not used to ball pythons, you're probably scratching your head, why would this one sell for so much more? And essentially what this is actually a super micro scale. It's a different line of scaleless. So if you actually look really close at this snake, it doesn't have any scales. All the scales are completely stripped off. And there's actually 2 different lines of scaleless, which is kind of interesting. There's the micro scale and there's the scaleless head. And there are some differences between the two. I've actually heard kind of through the grapevine that the super micro scale, if you actually look at the face of the snake, it doesn't have any heat pits that you would normally find on ball pythons. Usually have the little holes on the front of the face, and the only gene that I know of that completely eliminates all the heat pits is the super micro scale. As a matter of fact, you can actually get this confused with another snake if you had them both in your collection, and that is this one right here. This is an all-white snake that is is the super scaleless head. So this one's also a white snake that is scaleless. As a matter of fact, this one's actually a super fire. So you could tell the difference between them because the super fire is in the black-eyed leucistic complex where it actually has black eyes, and then the other one was a blue-eyed leucistic. That one had blue eyes. But take a look at the difference in the prices of this. This one was actually listed for $4,500, about a third of the other one, which is kind of crazy. And the difference is there's really not a whole lot of the super micro scales out there, and it seemed like the market was really flooded with the super scaleless heads and the scaleless heads, and the prices really came down quite a bit because there were so many of that gene out there. And, it's kind of a supply and demand balance. If there's not a lot of that particular gene on the market, sometimes it can sell for a lot more money. So take a look at this snake. This is an all-white snake with red eyes, similar to what you would know as the cherry bomb, which is there's quite a few ways you can actually make the all-white snake with the red eyes. But if you actually look at the price on this one, take a look at this. This one actually sold in 2019 for $9,000. Pretty crazy. And essentially what this is actually a triple recessive visual. This is a VPI snow clown, which is the combination of the VPI axanthic, the albino, and the clown. Pretty crazy that you have them all together in this snake, and it pretty much wipes out all the genes. As a matter of fact, actually, if you don't know what those genes are, I pulled them out separately so you can see what they actually are. So this is the axanthic, one of the genes in that snake, and it's recessive. All three genes are recessive, so you need 2 copies of the gene for a visual. So this is the axanthic. You cross the axanthic with the albino. This is kind of crazy. Mixing those two together, you actually make the snow, which is the all-white snake with the red eyes. And then on top of the snow, they actually added clown to the mix. So kind of the tricky part about that combination is it's kind of one of the reasons that I didn't combine the axanthic to my albino. When I'm actually working on some triple heads too, I was kind of staying away from that because if you actually make the clown in the combination, I would say it's pretty hard to actually see the clown in your snow. I guess if you looked really close, you could actually see some pattern in there. I'm thinking you might actually need like a UV light or something. I bet you could definitely see the clown pattern if you actually kind of lit this up with the right wavelength of a UV light. That is a pretty amazing combination. So take a look at this one. This is actually an all-white snake. This is not a blue-eyed leucistic complex, but kind of the prices on this one. This one is $8,000, and it's kind of interesting. You definitely do not want to mix up your all-white snakes. And what this is actually a panda pied. So this is probably the brightest white snake you can get. I'd say probably even brighter than any of your other ones because the all-white pieds are super bright, and the panda pied usually has black splotches on a white snake. I actually pulled one up over here. This is typically what your panda pieds look like with some black and some white. And kind of the challenging part of the panda pied project is usually you'll have just a little bit of black, and in a lot of cases you'll actually have a completely white snake with no black at all, but it's still a panda pied. As a matter of fact, if you actually look at the price on the panda pied, this one actually sold, well, this is back in 2016, but this one actually sold for $10,000. Probably the best panda pie that I've ever seen. Look at the difference between the black and the white, just really intense. It almost looks like someone tattooed a black spot on this like an inkjet black. Pretty amazing. It's kind of the challenge of this project is I'd say this is probably the highest amount of black that I've ever seen on panda pies. Usually it's just a little spot here or there on the panda pie, which is kind of cool. So here's another one. This is actually another blue-eyed leucistic, but take a look at the price on this blue-eyed leucistic. This one actually sold in 2018 for $6,000. And in this case, this is kind of an interesting mix because this one's actually a lesser Mojave het monsoon, and a monsoon is a really expensive gene. There's not a lot of monsoons out there, and they sell for a kind of a ridiculous amount of money. It's a really amazing. As a matter of fact, I actually pulled up a monsoon here. Take a look at this. this looks like unlike any other gene in ball pythons. One of the new genes on the market, not really that popular. It's one of the things I'd like to get into if the prices would actually come down. But if you actually look at the prices on the monsoons, this is actually a recessive, and this one actually sold in 2018 for $15,000. Pretty crazy. So you actually take this, you breed it to something else, and everything comes out het monsoon, so you can actually get into the project a little bit cheaper than buying a visual. But it's kind of crazy. You actually put this into a blue-eyed leucistic, and you really can't tell one way or another if the het's in there anyway. So this one I thought was pretty interesting. Take a look at this. So this is actually an ivory, which is the super yellow belly. And the super yellow belly actually masks pretty much all genes. I'd say the only exceptions really are the leopard. The leopard can actually break through the ivory, and the enchi can break through a little bit if you actually have the right combo with the enchi. But take a look at the price on this. This is kind of crazy. This one actually sold, well, this is back in 2017, but this sold for $5,000, which is kind of crazy. And if you actually take a look at the genes in this, this is actually the banana, super pastel, ivory, and puzzle. So the puzzle is the really expensive gene. It's not really that popular, and the puzzle can make some pretty amazing combinations. And if you actually know for sure you have 2 copies of the puzzle in there, that would really bring up the price of this all white snake. As a matter of fact, I actually pulled up something close to this, removing 1 copy of the yellow belly. So essentially what happened here is you're breeding 2 really high-end snakes together, and you actually have 1 yellow belly gene in each of the parents. And when those 2 yellow belly genes come together, you get the ivory, which is the all-white snake. And that's one of the reasons you may want to stay away from, working with the blue-eyed leucistic on both sides, or the yellow belly on both sides, or the fire, something like that, with the black-eyed leucistic complex with the fire or the sulfur, so you don't get the white snakes. So essentially what I did is I was looking for a similar snake, removing 1 copy of the yellow belly. So take a look at this. This is what happens when you remove 1 copy of the yellow belly. This is as close as I can find. This is the banana, pastel, enchi puzzle. So this actually has enchi in there too, but the puzzle really makes some really crazy combinations. So take a look at this one. This is actually a super bamboo. And when I first started in ball pythons, the super bamboo was selling for a crazy amount of money. So the snake that I have around my neck at the beginning and end of every video, that is a bamboo. That is Bobby, the bamboo ball python that I've had around my neck for the last few years in almost every single video. And take a look at the prices on this. This one actually sold back in 2015. That is the year I started in ball pythons, for $4,000. Which is kind of crazy. But keep in mind, if you're actually looking at these prices and looking at the dates, the prices can really come down on a lot of these combinations. As a matter of fact, I actually pulled up another super bamboo over here. Take a look at this. This is another super bamboo. This is from 2019. It actually came all the way down to $1,000, which is a pretty steep drop. So the bamboo is actually in the blue-eyed leucistic, and this is an all-white snake with blue eyes. All right, so it is time for the question of the day. And SpongeBob asks, how do you find mites on a black snake? And that is a very good question. And if you're not familiar with mites, let me tell you, you do not want mites in your collection. I actually had a mite infestation here about 5 years ago when I first started in ball pythons, and I was just randomly ordering these snakes over on Morphmarket. I didn't even know about quarantine or mites or anything. One of those snakes brought mites into my collection. And at the time, I actually had some white snakes. And on a white snake, what you'll see is the mites are black. They're really super tiny, almost looks like a grain of salt, really super small, and they'll actually burrow between the scales on your ball python, and you can't wipe them off in most cases. So you actually have these little black spots, and you're like, where did these black spots come from? And what they'll do is they'll actually suck the blood from the ball python, and when they move to another spot, they'll leave behind a little red sore. So eventually on your white snakes, you'll end up with a snake that's kind of peppered with little black spots, along with a bunch of sores that it leaves behind in the snake. snake. Let me tell you, you definitely want to work to get rid of your mites. There's quite a few different treatments you can actually use, and if you're actually treating for mites, kind of one of the tricks you can do to determine if you have mites is you can take out all your substrates for all your enclosures and then replace it with paper towels. You can definitely see the mites on the paper towels, especially if you look underneath the paper towel. It's kind of interesting actually. On most of mine, I would replace all the paper towel, and then every now and then you'd see a little black spot crawling across the top of the paper towel, and you definitely know you have mites if you see a moving black spot. And with some of your snakes that are dark, even with the normals, it's really difficult to actually see the little black spots or the sores on the snake. So you definitely want to transition over to paper towels and then look under the paper towel, because a lot of times, most of the times will congregate underneath the paper towels most of the time that I found. I don't know if they come out at night or what the deal is, but it seemed like every time I lifted up the paper towel, most of the mites, 99% of them, would actually be underneath the paper towel in the tub. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.